brother and friend and something that he was struggling to do. And I've been there so many times too. I've been on the edge, you know, of doing something stupid or being an idiot, and called people up and said, I need you to come over right now because I'm an idiot and I want you to slap me a couple times. Maybe literally, but hopefully not. You know, if you don't have a small group or you don't have someone who you can call when you are wherever, whatever your struggle is and you're about to jump into it, I would encourage you to get involved with a small group. Get involved in some group of community where people can help you like that and you can help others like that, because it's so important, because we're dumb. We're, time and time again, we don't do the good that we know we should do. Instead, we do the evil that we know we're not supposed to do. Now, another thing that can help us through all of our human stupidity, there's a passage, one of my favorites, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Maybe you've heard this one before. It's a good one. And it's similar, 2 Corinthians 4, verse 7, we hold this treasure in earthen vessels, that the surpassing power comes from God and not from us. And I like these two in conjunction because when we think that we're the only ones and we can do it ourselves, we are destined to fail. But when we realize that the surpassing power comes not from us but from God, when we realize that we can only do all things through him who strengthens us, that is when we can win those battles. Ignatius used to talk about the temptations in life, like that we are a fortress, and we have a fortress, but the evil one knows the weakness in our fortress and exploits that weakness. And he knows how to get to it, and knows how to break through, and knows how to just get right in. But with God, with the grace that God gives us in the sacraments, with the grace that God gives us through prayer, we can fortify ourselves in a way that are impenetrable from the devil, from the temptations, from all the things that plague us in our lives. And so we need to go to Mass, receive the Eucharist. We need to go to the sacrament of reconciliation and seek that forgiveness and fill ourselves up with grace in order to survive, because we can't do it on our own. We need God, we need people in our lives to help lift us up and walk us through those times. One thing that Ignatius really stressed was a daily examination of conscience. And what he said is that at the end of every day, think back on your day. What did you do? How was your day? What were you good at that day? What did you fail to do that day? Not necessarily even how did you sin, but like, what could you have done better? How could you have improved things? And so every day at the end of the day, you look back on your day, and you think about what you did, and then you look at the next day and think, how can I do it better? How can I improve? What can I do? Just the little things. You know, maybe I hurt someone's feelings today, so tomorrow I'm going to go apologize. But every day, you're taking an assessment of your life, and you are working to improve each day in little increments what you can do. There are a lot of books over here. There are a lot of books over here on the daily examination of conscience. One of them I know was recommended by Father Suarez, and we've got some other ones that the Sycamore Tree brought. There are a lot of awesome, readable, easy to manage resources about the daily examination of conscience that are great, like everyday little retreats when you go to bed, a few minutes to assess what you've been going through. Because the path to holiness does not wind itself through the extraordinary. The path to holiness is really in the ordinary moments of our life. Mother Teresa said, we are not called to do great things, but to do small things with great love. There is an awesome painting by Brother Mickey McGrath, and if you don't know his work, he's great. We actually have a painting of his in the classroom hallway down near the catechist room. But this is a picture of Saint Therese of Lisieux, and she's doing dishes. And I was so struck by this, one, because I hate doing dishes, and two, because it looks so Eucharistic. She is doing a boring, mundane chore, but she is making it spiritual. And you can see the steam rising up from the sink like incense, and she's holding the dish up. And it just struck me that in doing the day-to-day things that we hate to do, that are frustrating, but if we do them with love or out of service to another person, we can make them holy, we can make them beautiful, we can make them Eucharistic. And the word Eucharist is a Greek word meaning thanksgiving. You know, if we're thankful and we do these stupid chores that we hate, like ironing or laundry, you name it, there's a chore that you don't like. The next time you do it, if you just be thankful for something, blessing in your life, whatever, we can make those moments holy. When I was little, I was at my grandmother's house in Cape Cod, and the family all used to descend on their house during the summer. We'd have these big dinners with the extended family all hanging out. My grandmother would work and cook for 50,000 people, it seemed like, however many people were actually in my family. We'd all be eating, and then after dinner, my grandfather would go into the kitchen and he'd wash the dishes. And I remember being the youngest cousin, they were all talking about adult stuff, you know, like health insurance and the new pain that they had on their side and whatever, real estate. It was boring to me as a 5-year-old. So I left and I was hanging out with my grandfather. And in the other room, I could hear my grandmother saying, "Oh, thank goodness Paul," my grandfather, "thank goodness Paul loves washing the dishes so much, because I hate washing the dishes. I am so glad we are so compatible because he just goes in there and loves washing those dishes." And I remember my grandfather looked at me with a twinkle in his eye, and he leaned down to me and he said, "Can I tell you a secret? I hate washing the dishes, but your grandmother hates it more. That's what love is." I remember being moved by that because he really hated washing dishes, but he did it out of love for my grandmother, and by doing that, he turned that into a holy act. It was just a dumb chore, but he was serving my grandmother out of love. And to me, man, it was beautiful. So I found this poem by a guy named Bruce Curley, and I had to change the formatting, but whatever. So I want to read it to you because it's about this. It is in the routines life is mastered, not the spectacular or heady. It is in the sandwich made again and again to the same perfection that feeds the millions. The 2x4 placed in the same position as 1,000 times before that builds the house for millions. The prayer prayed with humble precision that reaches the ear of God. So, despite the media feeding frenzy, the 15 minutes of fame, the opening night glory, the awarders giving each other awards in Hollywood's special desperation, or the worship of the crowd in the stands at the sports cathedral's ritual of discipline and moxie, granting blessing and benediction. The same crowd that worships has a cadre under the stands fashioning the crown of thorns and preparing the cross and nails. It is in the routine task done well, family life rewards, and the world ignores, that generations continue. Leave the more heady moments to the world. So I love that poem because it really is in the day-to-day stuff. That is where our holiness comes from. You don't have to be the Pope. You don't have to be some amazing politician, if there is such a thing. You just need to live your life each day striving to take that next step to being better. That's it. That's it. It's so easy. Just do it. I haven't figured it out yet. But there is a great CD by Matthew Kelly. He's the one who did Rediscover Catholicism. So this one is called Our Lives Change When Our Habits Change. 45-minute long CD. He offers it, quote unquote, free from his website. But you pay shipping and handling. It's like $5, so it's a $5 CD. It's really an excellent resource. I've listened to it a couple times, and it's about how if we build good habits, that's how we change our life. Because if you don't turn what you do into who you are, then, you know, in order to make something important, you have to do it repeatedly. So how do you do that? You have to form habits so that it becomes easy. So it's Our Lives Change When Our Habits Change by Matthew Kelly. And you can come check it out over here afterwards. But it's a great CD. Another thing that Ignatius was big on, in conjunction with the daily examination of conscience, was making resolutions. So I'm going back over to my handy overhead projector, and I want you to write down on the top, resolution. So when you do your daily examination of conscience, and you start to see the patterns in your life, wow, the last week I've noticed a lot of angry moments. I've noticed a lot of impatience. I've noticed a lot of unkindness, not being generous, whatever it is. Then you start to see the patterns emerge, and then it's time to start to think about resolutions. How can I change those patterns? How can I make a new pattern? How can I make a new behavior? And you don't need to wait until January 1st or Lent to make a resolution. You can do it anytime. You can do it tonight. You can do it next Friday. You can do it October 12th. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You can make a resolution whenever. And in conjunction with your daily examination of conscience, this can be a really powerful tool in learning more about yourself and trying to steer yourself into a better version of yourself. So there are a few things that I learned. All right, I'm going back over here. So one is that when you write down your resolutions, you're going to have more space, I think, on your page than I will. So write them down. So research suggests that writing down goals and resolutions actually makes you more likely to succeed at them. So it's important to actually write them down. The next thing, this is all Ignatian here. Limit your resolutions to 3 to 5 things. Because you go off on a retreat, and you come up with a list of 75 things you want to do to improve your life, it's impossible to keep track of 75 things. Because then you get like to 4 of them, and you're like, oh, I only did 4 out of 75. I'm a failure. Forget it. I'm not going to do any of them. So if you're only going to do 4, why not just do 4? The next thing is resolutions have to be measurable. Got to be able to measure them. What do I mean by that? Spelling. All right, so the difference in a resolution of being nicer. What does that mean? How do you nicer? Said that nice thing to Dale today. How's that nicer? You said the nice thing to Dale the last time you saw Dale. All right, so we need to make something that's measurable. So how about compliment 5 people each day? And it's like, Deacon Tom, you look lovely this evening, right? Do that 5 times. Your hygiene is impeccable. You smell ravishing. So, well, that's the same guy. It's all commas. So that's something you can measure. Did you compliment 5 different people today? You know, were they actual real compliments? So you can measure that. At the end of the day, you can look back at your examination and say, well, I only got to 3. Or, wow, today I did 6 and then you don't have to try. And you can see the patterns. How is that working? The next thing is they have to be attainable. Terrible. All right. My handwriting is bad, I'm sorry. So, for example, let's say that you are not in the habit of daily prayer. And you decide, I need to fix that. I want to pray every day, but I haven't been doing that. So tomorrow, and for the next month, I'm going to pray an hour every day. Yes. Day 1, maybe you get the hour. Good job. Better than me. Day 2, 45 minutes. Day 3, 10 minutes. And then you think, well, I can't get an hour. Forget it. I'm done. Scrap it. So Ignatius says, look, that's not reasonable. That's not smart. You're going to set yourself up for failure, and then you're not going to try anymore. So how about 5 minutes a day? You don't pray at all? Let's do 5 minutes a day. Work on that. Then when 5 minutes gets easy, make it 10. Go slow. We'll talk about that more. So resolutions are not set in stone, just like I was just talking about there. And if you set a resolution, you find that it's getting easier and easier. All right, well, it's time to make it harder now. Let's make it better. Instead of just praying 5 minutes, pray 10. Instead of praying 10, 15. Instead of complimenting 5 people, compliment 10 people. Instead of donating $20 this week to whatever charity, donate $50. Whatever it is, work with your resolutions. They are not set in stone. Make them work for you so that they are constantly improving you in your life and moving you towards holiness. All right. So, on January 1st, 2014, I wrote down 4 resolutions. I was ready. I wrote them down. There were only 4 of them. They were measurable. They were attainable. After a year, January 1st, 2015, I picked up that piece of paper and I realized I didn't do a single thing all year for any of those 4 things. I could easily measure the 0 in each column and how bad I was at all 4 of them. I did nothing. Not a single thing. So this year I said, all right, 4 was too many. Somehow that was overwhelming. I'm going to pick one of them, and that is what I will focus on. And one of them was, I have on my bucket list that we talked about earlier, I want to have run a marathon. And so I decided this was the year that I'm going to research it, I'm going to figure out what's the best way to go about it, and I'm going to do it. And so I started telling people, I'm going to do it. And then I looked it up, and I found a training schedule. And I want you to look at the top, week 1. This was in March, because it took me 2 months to actually do something after I said, I'm only going to do one thing. 2 months later, I started working on it. So, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, on week 1 of your marathon training program for novices, you're supposed to run 3 miles each day. I could not run 3 miles. So I said, all right, I'm in pre-week 6. I'm going to run 1 mile, then I'm going to wait 2 days, and I'm going to run 1 mile. So it took me like 3 weeks to build up where like the long run was 3. Like, all right, my long run is now the short run. And it took me a while to get to week 1. And I had to keep training, and a lot of people think that I'm a runner now, which I guess I am because I'm running, and they think that I really enjoy it and like it a lot. Running is awful. It's painful. God did not design my body to do these things. And yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute. But I've learned a lot from running, and it's been actually very valuable. And it was through running that I kind of came up with the idea, this is like working towards the sainthood. Training for a marathon is like working towards the sainthood. The first thing is that I needed to start small and needed to increase slowly. When making your resolutions, whether it's about prayer, sacraments, whatever, being generous with people, you have to start small, like Ignatius says, and you've got to build it slowly. If I don't, maybe you've experienced this. In high school, I was an athlete, 3-sport varsity athlete. I played sports in the summer. My mind and my body, I could do anything, whatever. And I got to college, and I still did a lot of sports. And I got older, I did less sports. And then a few years later, I did no sports, ever. But my mind did not really recognize that. And so I'd go play football with friends, like, two-hand touch, whatever. And I would run like I was 17. And then for the next 5 days, I would convalesce like St. Ignatius. Cannonball wound. It was like, I didn't even realize I had muscles in these places. Like I would sneeze and it would hurt. My body knew that it couldn't handle this, but my mind was like, let's do it! We are 17 still! So no, I had to trick myself and remind myself that I am not as young as I once was. And then I actually needed to take time to heal and build endurance. And so this training schedule is actually designed in order to build endurance by building in rest days so that your muscles can recover. And it is designed to slowly build up mileage as opposed to all right, week 1, run 10 miles, week 2, 15 miles, week 3, 25 miles. No, then I would die. So slowly it's been building up. So right now, if you're curious, I'm here. And this is Saturday, and I'm a little daunted by that. And in a couple weeks, that's coming. But then I get these nice, easy, running back down. So what else is ridiculous? This is my short run. I have to run 10 miles as a short run soon. And again, there was something recently where I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and it was dark, and no one else in the house was awake, and it was Saturday, and I was going out to run for 2.5 hours. What am I doing? But I learned something else, that when you make your goal public, it's a lot harder to give up. So posting this on Facebook, telling people about this, people now ask me, hey, how's the running going? And I have to tell them. If I don't, I have a cute little running app on my phone, and when it's over, it posts how far I ran, and people who are friends with me on my cute little running app can see how far I ran. And so at the end of the run, I know they can see if I did my run or not. On Facebook, I try not to post anything because it's annoying. It even annoys me. So I try to post as little as possible. Stop nodding your head. But running, it sucks. And there are times when I'm thinking, I can stop now. I'm only at mile 7, like a 12-mile run. I can stop now. But then someone would ask me, how'd your run go? And I'd have to say, I didn't do it. And my stupid, stubborn pride is actually working for good to propel me towards my goal. My stubbornness and my pride is helping me here because I've made it public. So if you have a goal, telling other people can help you achieve your goal. Another thing I've learned from running is that there are a lot of sports out there that are very competitive. The running community is very supportive and very encouraging. And someone posted on Facebook recently, look in the mirror, there's your competition. And I really liked that. Like, I don't post what I'm running or my time or anything like that because I want to compare myself to you. I post because I want to be better than how I was before. Like, I want to beat myself. I want to beat the voice in my head that says, you should stop. You can't do this. It's too much. That's who I'm competing against. I'm not competing against you. It doesn't matter how fast I run. It doesn't matter how fast you run. It matters that we get off the couch and we go do something. And I have a friend of mine who's training too, and he's running at like a 20-minute mile pace. And that's awesome because that's a lot faster than sitting on the couch. And it's a lot farther than walking to the other room to get a snack and a drink. So you can like his run and my cute little abs. I'm like, yes. That's, you're competing against ourselves and that's it. Because a lot of times we compare ourselves to other people, we feel bad, we feel guilty. It doesn't work, it's stupid, but we do it. We do it. So I have learned to be better about only comparing myself to myself. The other thing I've learned about running is in order to improve, you have to push yourself until it hurts. And then you keep pushing yourself. Because if you push yourself until it hurts and then you stop, you don't build endurance, you don't build your strength, you don't build your mileage. And it's the same thing with any resolution. If you do something until it's hard and then you give it up, well, you're never going to get much better. If you give up something for Lent, and the first time you're like, oh, I miss it, I'm just going to go have some fried chicken, whatever you give up, chocolate, beer. You're not really growing then, are you? If you give up as soon as it becomes difficult, we're not moving forward. We're not helping ourselves. So running has definitely taught me that, because there are times when I'm like weeping, why am I doing this? But then you push it, you keep going, and the next run is easier. I ran 16 miles last 2 Saturdays ago. I have never even fathomed running that distance before. And it's because I'm slowly increasing it. I'm pushing until it hurts, and I still keep going. Now, you have to draw the distinction. Pushing past when it's difficult and it's painful and you want to give up versus you've injured yourself. Then you don't want to push, because we all have human limits and boundaries. And there are times in our spiritual life too where we have to know, okay, I have a boundary here. I need to draw that line. I'm helping a friend, and suddenly I realize that what you need now is not a friend, what you need is a professional counselor, and I can't be that for you. And knowing where your boundary is very important. So no matter what that is, running, friendship, accountability, small group, whatever it is, it's good to know when to stop pushing. Building a habit is difficult. Like in the CD by Matthew Kelly, like in doing the resolutions that St. Ignatius talks about, if we keep at it and stick to it and push ourselves a little bit more, eventually, when we build the habit, it becomes easy. Because habits are second nature, you don't think about it. Whereas in week 1, I couldn't even run 3 miles. Running 3 miles for me now is a piece of cake. For someone who doesn't pray at all, starting at 5 minutes, maybe in 6 months, maybe in 2 months, maybe in 4 weeks, praying for a half an hour every day is a piece of cake. You just have to build that habit, keep going. The last thing I learned from running is the biggest hurdle sometimes is my own head. It's just me. I'm the one preventing me from doing whatever I'm trying to do. I am ridiculously good at making excuses. I'm also very good at rationalizing why I don't necessarily need to go that extra mile. This is a good run at 10 miles. I don't need to go 12. Actually, this is interesting. So this is supposed to be cross training, but I like that on Sunday, it's all about the cross. Thought that was cool. So on Sundays, it's supposed to be cross training days where you do something that's no impact, like ride a bike or swim. I don't think I've done cross training for the last 7 weeks because I'd rather just not do any work. So I don't. And it's just me deciding, I'm lazy. There's a great quote that I love from St. Augustine: "Give me chastity and give me constancy, but not yet." It's like, that is right. That is the good that I should be doing, and I'll do it tomorrow because there's football on. So something that is right in this realm here, as a what? St. Augustine. As a tall, skinny guy, I have lower back pains. The last 6 months, I've noticed that I have had pains like consistently. And I remember talking to people about it and learning that if I just did core strengthening exercises, I would see almost instant relief from this thing. I was like, wow, so I just need to do like some crunches or some back workouts, 5 minutes, 3 times a day, and that would help me. And I haven't done that. I like wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh, my back hurts. Sit for a long period of time, my back hurts. But I don't do the thing that I know will help me because I'm just lazy. So I'm writing this, I'm putting this in the outline of my talk because I know it's true. And so I got down from my computer today and I did crunches because I was like, this is stupid, I'm an idiot. So I did crunches today in my office because I felt dumb and guilty, and I knew I was going to tell you that I never did crunches. So I did crunches today. So now that I've said this publicly, you can ask me about those crunches I'm supposed to be doing. Hold me accountable. All right, so this is the section in a second of the too much information. So if you are squeamish at all or have personal space boundaries, just cover your ears for a minute. So what I have learned from Charles Lindbergh as applied to running, the importance of having enough fuel. This is actually pretty low impact here. The importance of having enough fuel. He worked very hard to make sure his plane could hold the amount of fuel he needed to get across the Atlantic. Running sucks. And I have noticed that in optimal conditions, running, I'd say, was painful and annoying. And in less than optimal conditions, it gets worse and worse and worse. So if I don't hydrate enough, I cramp up everywhere, and it's horrible. If I don't eat enough food beforehand, and it's going to depend on how long I'm running or how hot it is, how humid it is. If I don't have enough energy, I cramp up, or just my will to live dwindles. Mile like 15, I'm like, somebody kill me. I don't care anymore. Lord, take me, please. So I need to fuel up before I go, which means on Saturday mornings for my long run, there are times where I have to wake up like 2 hours beforehand so I can eat breakfast and then digest enough. It's ridiculous. It's dark out and everyone's asleep and it's Saturday and I'm sad. This Saturday was raining. I had to go run in the dark in the rain. Woe is me. It's my own fault. So the next thing, and this is where we get personal. Lindbergh focused on streamlining excess weight. And now I don't mean our outside weight. I mean that our body naturally needs to excrete things that are not necessary to us anymore. And in the morning, if you do not move your bowels before a long run, man, bad things are afoot. I saw, and I did not include this, you're welcome, I did not include this, but there is a picture of a marathon runner crossing the finish line, and he did not contain his bowel issues while running, but did not give up either. So I don't know how I feel about it, but it's really a gross picture. So you gotta streamline your weight, move your bowels. Coffee helps, whatever. Anyways. This one's good too. The importance of making sure your engine is properly lubricated. So Lindbergh knew that 33 and a half hours of flight, his engine and his propeller needed to have enough oil so that they wouldn't jam up over the ocean. So he had a huge oil tank just for that. I have learned that running, you have moving parts for long periods of time that create friction, which over time causes burns, like rug burns or sunburns, burns on places that you don't want burns, ever. When I ran my first half marathon, it was on May 31st, and I got this new tech shirt from the run, and I wore it. And I finished the race, and I got in the shower, and I realized I had chafing on my nipples. I have never experienced nipple injuries from sports before. It was like having sunburn or rug burn on my nipples. And it was horrible. It was excruciating. I had to wear Band-Aids because my shirt hurt the next day. We were with other people, so I couldn't just walk around topless. Ow. So then I realized, all right, if I run topless, my shirt can't chafe against my nipples, and then my nipples won't hurt. But then my armpits chafe, because my shirt protected my armpits. Like, this is ridiculous. So there were lots of solutions that I researched online, many of them involving Vaseline, and I just thought that's too much for me. So someone on the Albemarle High School cross-country team told me, tape works. So I use squares of duct tape now before I go on my runs. And then, thank you for snorting, they prevent chafing. It's awesome. And someone always says, what happens when you take them off? And we're in the TMI section already, folks, so I sweat so much on these runs, it just comes right off at the end. It's beautiful. Everybody wins. The first time I put them on, I was like, I don't care if I rip hair out. Nipple chafing sucks. You can quote me on that. You can write that at the bottom. So yeah, duct tape has been my savior. I posted about this the first time after my half marathon. And somebody said, oh, I don't have chafing problems there. ... I didn't ask. So, this is a tough transition now. In closing, now that we've covered my nipple injuries, I have homework for you, and some of it involves this sheet, but just to recap a couple of the things. It's really, really important that we avail ourselves of the sacraments and the grace that we get from God through those sacraments. Eucharist every week at Mass, or more. We can go every day if we want. You can get Eucharist 7 times a week. But the grace we get from that is so important. And in order to push out the temptations and to fill us with the power from God that will allow us to do things that we can't do by ourselves. And reconciliation too. And I'll talk about this in the future. I have a talk coming up in December. But man, if it's been a long time, I would really recommend going to the Sacrament of Reconciliation. Because we carry around a lot of junk with us. And we need to streamline that weight. We need to cut the edges of our maps. We need to just get that junk out of our life. And God will forgive us and fill us with grace. And that is so helpful in that life of holiness. A retreat. I would highly recommend some kind of retreat experience, whether it's a one-day thing like the men's or women's conference, whether it's an overnight like the men's or women's cursillos, whether it's a different retreat. Please take time out of your life to refocus your energy on your faith and on your relationship with God. Next, the daily examination is an awesome tool for us. So I would challenge you to go home tonight and do it. How was your day today? What'd you do well? What'd you not do well? What can you do tomorrow to do better than today? And then over the next few days, discern some resolutions. Notice the patterns in your life from your daily examinations. What do you need to fix? Come up with 3 to 5 things and write them on this list. I gave you the paper. You've got stuff written down, I hope, if you follow directions. It should look something like that. Come up with some resolutions. Start now. Let's work. Between now and Advent, let's see if we can make some progress. And then over the next few months, I think it's important to dream long-term. Think big. What are the bucket list items you want for yourself? I've done some ridiculous ones in my days, and it's been great to cross them off the list. And I feel like when I'm finally done with this marathon, I'm going to be glad.